I saw like a YouTube video that said I could get abs in like 2 weeks.
That's
like that's not a thing.
No, it's not. But that thing's got 1 million views, and my 30-week prep gets 3 views.
Nice. So we were stuck with this fucking big ass industrial
unit.
Yeah, so half the time we've just been kicking it off lately because it's quite loud. And also now with Dylan utilizing up there, just be absolutely annihilating Dylan with
just sweat stains all day.
Oh man, it would be terrible. You'd literally just like shrivel into a prune, man.
Yeah.
So
it's a good weight loss program. I like it.
It's a good weight loss.
I'm good with it.
That's what you recommend, right? I think.
Yeah.
One of your programs.
Yeah. There's a heater behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. But then as I got like more experienced and then like had, mentors and coaches and stuff like that, it's like, okay, like if we want to bring X look, X time frame. And that's now like with clients that I work with, I'm like, hey, they'll come to me and be like, hey, I want to do a show. I'm like, when? Yeah. And they're like, it's February. And they're like, I want to do the April show. I'm like, okay, send me some photos. Like, you better have like walking abs right now. if that's it, right? Like, you better be like reasonably beach lean now to get you like shredded. Yeah. But most of the time it's like, sorry, man, like it's either you pick a different show or we got to basically kill you, which is not, not good. Like this past prep was my longest. I think I had 32 weeks total. Damn. Which is north of 6 months.
That's by
the time like the last show rolled around. Yeah. And it was my best look. It was like best but hardest prep. Like there's stuff that like happened like throughout that prep that was like some mad struggles that like I just don't like to openly talk about. Yeah. But the result, like everybody saw
insane.
Everybody like literally it was insane. It couldn't have gone better, right? Like that's what my coach said. Like after it, he was like, honestly, like I don't know if I've ever had this good of a season, like statistically, with like wins, overalls, titles, with anybody in a long time. Right. But like what that took, and like even with clients I have now, like Ural, right? Like black guy. Oh yeah. With what he's at now, and then I'll look back at photos of what I was at, and like how shredded I was like to Carrie, I was like, he's so lean. Yeah. But he's not touching. He's still what I not did. There. Yeah. Like he's still got, compared to what I was, like he's still probably got 10 pounds.
Dude, it was fucked. Like, especially considering that you are natural. Like, that is unreal. Like, it's unbelievable, the conditioning.
There's like those professional shots that Arda took when he come that one time. We did like black and white ones and sit. And like, I remember looking at them, I'm like, that's not even me. Yeah, dude. And that's where like the social media can fool people, right? Like if you saw me walking around at Walmart, and you saw that photo, you're like, no. I'm like, lighting, pump, all that kind of stuff. But it's weird. But that photo, like it blew people, like it got like 2,500 likes, and like 100 reshares.
It's like, every kid's like dream of what they imagine like God tier physique is. Yeah. That was you. Yeah. Like, well, I mean, it still is, but like that was unbelievable conditioning. Yeah. That was like literally what you'd see in like. You can't go higher than that. I don't think you can. Like, can you?
I don't
do you think
you can
get
left.
like any much? Like,
no, I like really don't.
Yeah.
Like, I was like,
it was insane, bro.
But like, well, I can talk forever.
Yeah, no, it's nuts. Are we rolling? Everything's rolling. We kind of changed our model.
Like, screw it. I'm just gonna put a sports car in front of it. Who needs a desk when you have a sports car? Right?
That looks better.
Yeah, it's true.
All right, so today we are with Leroy Rollins, one of the most professional people that I've ever met, and I honestly feel like anybody that comes around you just naturally tries to become better. Every time I've been around you, you just like exude professionalism, and everyone around you has to be a professional to be
they step it up.
They gotta step it up. So you've got a lot of stuff going on, and we're gonna cover as much as we can today.
Hell yeah.
One of the biggest thing, obviously, you are a pro natural bodybuilder. With one of the most insane physiques.
This is faulty because I just finished working out, so this is like
I didn't get a pump beforehand, so I'm
in an hour I won't look this good.
I got to out angle. Which camera's on wide angle here? And you also your like approach to life is very unique, and one that I think I'm excited to chat more about. Because you have a career and you also have a business.
Job.
Yeah, like a job. And you've done an incredible job balancing both of those things. Yeah. So maybe talk a little bit about like what got you into bodybuilding, first of all, and why you've continued, even though you run in like a very successful coaching company, why you've continued to stay in a career, like in a job, because that's super rare. And like a lot of people hate on job. We live in a culture that loves to hate on jobs.
Yeah. Entrepreneurship's so glamorized. And then, do you have any idea what actually that looks like? Because you see like people on a beach with a laptop and you're like, I want that. And like, I think I've taken my laptop to like one beach ever. Yeah. And it was not good. I got sand all in it. Like, it's not a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, I just feel like we live in a culture that like, unless you're like doing the thing and doing the like influencer life and as an entrepreneur, like we just glamorize it so much. Yeah. But there's so much value to building a life that you're like, you know, proud of and is sustainable, and you have massive impact in your circle. So yeah, talk a little bit about like what got you into bodybuilding first of all, and then we'll go from there.
It's an interesting story. Did you ever grow up? How old are you again?
I'm 34.
You're 34, so you're like kind of my range. Did you ever grow up around professional wrestling? Was that ever in your household or anything like that?
So we never had a TV.
Oh, damn.
Yeah. So actually, sorry, that's a lie. We did have a TV. We only got one channel, and it was like Hockey Night in Canada was the only thing that we'd watch. Fair. But I know what you're talking about. Okay. But
so like I grew up like, I always like joke that we should have been in like the southern states, because I grew up watching wrestling and NASCAR. Yeah. Like we didn't watch hockey, we didn't watch football, baseball, like none of that was like in my house. But Monday Night Raw was like our jam, right? Like me and my mom, my dad, buddies from school, that's where we were every Monday. Yeah. So I grew up around like muscles. Okay. It was like in my face, right? So like people watching like John Cena, Triple H, The Rock, Stone Cold, Hulk Hogan, Batista, big actor now, but like just these physiques, right? So like I didn't know it at the time, but like I always thought it was like sick that these guys are jacked. Yeah. So I didn't know like what that looked like in my future, but it was like imprinted in me that like muscles were cool, working out was cool. And I think anybody that starts, it's like, oh, this is going to help me get girls. But like, even that wasn't like, I just thought being jacked was cool because they just looked awesome. Like just these massive imposing figures on TV that we watched every week. So like, I got into like working out like pretty early. Like I think I was probably like 12 or 13. And for birthday, Christmas, whatever it was, got like the basic weight bench you get at Walmart. It's got the leg thing at the bottom.
The one inch
plates. Plate yep. Lat pull down thing went on it. Yep. And that was like in my dad's office, like upstairs, and used that religiously. Didn't know what I was doing, like bench press, push-ups. Like I just used it. It come with a poster of like 12 things to do. I was like, wow, I'll do that. I don't know much better. Yeah. So like I got into like training early, and then as that kind of progressed, then it was like, okay, you learn a bit more, and you start to kind of learn what people do specifically, and then that transitioned to like bodybuilding. So like when my mom and I would go to get groceries, because this was before social media was really a thing, we couldn't leave Walmart, couldn't leave the grocery store without me grabbing like a magazine. Sick. It was Flex magazine, Muscle magazine, whatever. And like, just like stacks, man. Like I had, and these things are like, looking back, I'm like, man, these things were like $11.
Yeah. Yeah. They're expensive,
and I had like probably 100 of them. Like I had bank in magazines, but I would read them cover to cover. And a lot of it is like, now it's not very applicable. Yeah. Because it's like these basic routines that like so-and-so pro did or whatever. Sure. But at 15, 16 years old, I'm looking at these people like they're idols. Right. And I'm like, well, for Arnold's chest workout, like worked for him, might as well do that. Sure. And like, it's kind of nice to be like blissfully unaware, right? Like I think we're in like an information overload age. Yeah. The more you learn, the more you realize you don't know anything. Yeah. And it like, paralysis by analysis, right? Like, especially in training culture right now, like there's, how do I make this optimal and make this better and make this perfect? I'm like, man, like if you just did something, if you just worked out consistently for like a year and a half, you'd probably get like 90% of the results. Yeah. That you would want to get. What's like noob gains, right? Like it's like that first year you end up like, right? So, the magazines, that kind of stuff. And then that's when bodybuilding started to like come into like the forefront of like, oh, like this is kind of cool. Yeah. No desire to compete, but the desire to always just get bigger, right? I was a small kid. Like when I first got working out, like I remember I wrestled in grade 9 at like 120 pounds in high school. Okay. Like I was small, and like I'm not tall. Like, I'm like 5'7" on a good day, right? So that was a small frame. So I was like, I just want to get bigger. I didn't care. I wasn't tracking calories. I wasn't weighing my food. Like I just ate a lot. Yep. Worked out regularly. Yeah. And just did that for a while.
So you got a pump this morning?
Yeah. You get a little workout in.
Fucking right.
It's standard ritual.
Heck yeah. Are you early? You're early morning.
Yeah, get up, get it done, man.
What time?
I'm usually out there around 7.
Okay. Yeah.
I get up at like 6, 6:15, 6:30.
Yeah.
But I've been training fasted
Even
now.
weekend, like every day? You have?
Yeah. So like I was like, for so long, and I think it's more of like the bodybuilding world, right? Like you got to eat before you train. And I like, obviously that was drilled into my head for so long. But then, especially like as I get like deeper into the off season and I have to like eat more total food.
Yeah.
Like my appetite starts to go down.
Right.
So I was like getting up and I'm like, it would be like a meal. Like in prep, it was like a lot of food.
Yeah.
And then like as I got more in the off season, it's like less and less and less. And then it was like, okay, a shake and some fruit. And it's like, okay, it was a granola bar. And then I was like, man, I don't want anything.
No way.
Because I would like feel
Do you
full.
do like a pre or anything?
So I take pre.
Yeah.
So now I
It hits
just
you,
like
so hard.
yeah, like now I just pound a bunch of water. It's
Yeah.
my like last meal of the day. Like that's when Carrie and I have dinner usually, and we're usually by the time we both finish work, walk the dog and stuff, like we're not eating till like 8 o'clock.
Yeah, right.
And that's when I have like usually like a decent amount of food. So I talked to my coach and I was like, yo, is it that big of a deal if I don't eat in the morning?
Yeah.
He was like, if you're having like a bulk of calories overnight, like before bed, he's like, and you wake up and you're not hungry, he's like, just do maybe like some aminos, and then I'll do like Gatorade powder, so it's like quick sugar during the workout.
Yep. Electrolytes.
Yeah, yeah.
what
So I
plants
drink
do.
a bunch of water, take my pre-workout, and then off I go.
And then I think it was my 16th birthday. My mom got me 3 months with a personal trainer.
Okay.
3 times a week at fitness center. His name was Brad Brooks. Shout out to him. He was a Canadian champion boxer at the time.
No way.
Or prior to that or something like that.
Okay.
Just someone that like gave me knowledge.
Gotcha.
Again, like looked up to him. Like I've had like these key figures and like I've tried, like he could have told me anything. I would have believed it. Right. And I think that's something that's important, right? If you fully invest in it, whether it's true or not,
Sure.
it's probably going to do you some sort of good.
You hope so.
Right? You hope so, right?
Yeah.
So I had 3 months with him 3 times a week. And that was kind of like the first catalyst to like, maybe there's like some kind of like progression that you can do
Right.
outside of just working out.
Yeah, yeah.
And then kind of train, went into college, got pretty tight with a guy named Riley, who was kind of that gym partner, right? That kind of like, you know, we go every day together, we push each other, that kind of stuff.
Yep.
And then that's when I started to like entertain the idea of competing. So I did my first show at 21. I was self-coached. I just kind of did, you know, I just like reached out to people and was like, yo, what does this kind of look like? The people at the gym that I had heard that competed before, like bodybuilding back then was like 1 or 2 guys, maybe. Now it's like everybody.
Did you do bodybuilding or did you do like physique for your first show?
Yeah, so my first show, it was with an organization called the UFE, and they had what was called a fitness model category.
Yeah.
So you actually wore like, kind of. You wore like classic physique trunks.
Oh, okay.
So not the short bodybuilding like Speedo, but like just a little bit longer. And then you had, you know, don't dig this photo up, but
We're digging it up.
yeah, pull it up on the screen. But you had a costume wear. So it was a Halloween show.
Sick.
So I dressed up as a cowboy. I had these cut
Hell yeah,
off
you
like
did.
Daisy Duke shorts, man. I had the like ascot hanging out of the pocket.
No
Had the
way.
hat and everything. So first show comes second.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, like that little taste of like, okay, you got something here.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it was like 15, 16 guys that come second. I'm like, okay, like might be onto something.
Yeah.
So then a week later, I did another show. And one of the guys, his name was Adam Wilkes that I met at the show. He was like, if you got a little bit leaner, I think you'd do really well in bodybuilding.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay. So I had 2 weeks between the shows. And I think I then I
Shredded
killed
down.
myself, man, for 2 weeks. And I think I lost like 6 or 7 pounds in 2
Damn.
weeks. But then I won.
After already prepping.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you were
yeah.
already like lean.
Yeah. And then after winning. So that was like my first taste of like victory. So
That's crazy.
then and at 21,
Yeah. How old are you now?
29 this year.
29.
So 8 years ago.
Years
Shit.
ago. Yeah.
So I did that second show, ended up winning.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, now I've got the bug, right? Like, especially once you do well at something, then it's like game on.
100%.
So then I hired a coach. Sean was his name. Worked with him from 2016 to 2019, like through the preps.
Yep.
So I did 2 shows in 16, 17. Or 16, I did 2 shows. 17, I did Canadian Nationals, which I won my lightweight class for that. So that was
way.
good. So I was undefeated.
Damn.
Up until Nationals. Won that, and then that let you go to. The federations have changed since then, but you went to it was called IFBB Worlds.
Okay.
It was in Spain.
Yep.
So they paid your airfare, I think, to get there, which was like $700. So you just had to pay like your accommodations and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I was like, well, shit, this is kind of a trip to Spain, like paid for. So myself, my now wife, mom and dad hopped in a plane that November, went to Spain. It was an enhanced show, so I got my ass handed to me, but I didn't care. It was a good time. It was an
Did you consider it at that point? Ever? Like, have you ever considered like going
in
enhanced?
college? So a buddy of mine that I was training with in college, we were on like the precipice of doing it. Yeah. Because like I had that not peer pressure, but like that peer support of like, dude, we could get huge. And I'm like, yeah, we could get huge.
Yeah. I did a show. So I did a physique show, and then I did like a regional qualifier.
Yep.
And I think I was the only person at our gym that was not. And it was like, there were so many times where I was like, you guys are like dieting down, getting bigger. Like, what am I doing? But I also have never, like, no orals, nothing, no injectables.
No, I haven't touched it. Like, thankfully it didn't happen. And I think one of the things that, like, now compared to, like, when I was doing it, was like, when I was looking at these bodybuilders, these wrestlers and stuff like that, I was like, you guys are pretty big. You're probably taking some shit. Whereas now, like, there's just that lack of transparency on social media and stuff where people see these guys and they're like, especially these young guys, and they're like, wow, like, you know, all these influencers, and they're like, wow, these guys look great. Yeah. Behind the scenes, like, they're taking 3, 4, 5 compounds.
Yeah. My thing is, I don't like, for me, I could care less. Like, in fact, I plan on doing TRT at some point in my life, like as I get older.
I think most people probably will,
my thing
right?
is, my thing is like when people are like not telling the truth, and like you're like then that kid that's like, oh yeah, that's like, I mean, you did attain that physique, but like most people think, you know, oh, if I just get out there and put 2-3 years in, then I'm gonna have like be
100%,
right?
Like that's what people see me now, and I have like a good chunk of younger clients, and I'm like, okay, you remember I've been doing this like I've been working out since I was like 13, 14 years old. I've been training, like, relatively speaking, for bodybuilding since I was 18, 19. So like we're a decade in of like good quality training. And I'm like, dude, you're 20 and you're showing me I want to look like this. I'm like, okay, that is a time investment. And that's where you lose them, right? And that's like, for me as a coach, like the psychological experiment is always fun. Like, obviously getting someone in a certain like physical condition is great.
Sure.
But like working with people's minds is way more fun in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's like trying to sell these people on like, okay, if you want to do this and you want to do it naturally, especially, like, you got to be in this for like a good chunk of time. Like my physique is like once I got, you know, 7, 8, 9 years in, like I think the bulk of like what I'm going to build was done. Now it's just like refinement, right? A pound of muscle here, a pound less fat here, like that, those little things, right? But it's getting that 20-year-old to be like, okay, man, I need you to stay this grind, like at least till you're 25.
Yeah.
Like, what do you think of that? And they're like, like, how long?
Yeah, but when you're
like,
young,
that's not even long, man.
Yeah, when you're young, a year feels like forever.
Totally.
Like, it feels like an eternity.
Yeah, 100%.
So I remember it was a similar thing for like that whole mindset concept. Like at 21, 22, when I started a business, I was like, oh, like a year, there's so many things that I wish that I would have like approached differently just because of losing opportunity for not staying long enough. For sure. Which is a weird concept because you're like, well, if I move from this to this to this, then I'm going to get more opportunity. Yeah. But yeah, it's super tough. Like 1 year back then compared to now is a completely different period of time.
Yeah. It's like even with someone like prepping, it's like, okay, like you want to do a show. They're like, yep. I'm like, okay, we need 30 weeks. And they're like, but I want it next weekend. I'm like, man, no, you're not going to get it next weekend. And it's tough. And that's where like, I think most people in like the bodybuilding world, that's where they fall off because of the time.
But I saw like a YouTube video that said I could get abs in like 2 weeks. Yeah, that's like, that's not a thing.
No, it's not. But that thing's got 1 million views and my 30-week prep gets 3 views.
And I feel better because I'm not trying to digest things, which like it takes blood to run your digestive system. So you're trying to like...
Right, you're trying to pump...
You're trying to get blood into the muscle, but then it's trying to digest. Yeah, so I was like, man, this is stupid. So I was like, well, that belief is now gone. Right?
So there was zero difference in your training
No, I feel
adjustment?
better.
Wow.
Yeah, like that was the thing, right? I thought I was going to like, be like, oh, I'm sluggish and I'm weak and all this kind of stuff. And it's like, it's beliefs, right? Like even on prep, like so many people... They just assume because they're dieting, they're like, bro, I'm just weak. Yeah. I'm like, dude, you've been dieting for a week. Shut up. And like, I used to like tell myself like consciously and even in like my like workout book. I would write like refuse to get weak on it, and I would like hit PRs.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I
man.
remember when you were posting all your stuff like that. Yeah, that was
Yeah, and like I would be hitting PRs like 30 pounds lighter.
You were like 3 weeks out still doing like.
Dude, I was
I don't
deadlifting
think
like
your
500
strength
pounds.
dropped. Yeah, because
No,
when did we shot you
Yeah.
at your
like 3 weeks out.
3 weeks out, and you were still like squatting 405.
Yeah.
You were like, yeah, that was a leg day.
Yeah.
Which I didn't realize your legs are these. I always thought your legs. So what is your focus now moving forward? Are you like focused on the coaching side of stuff, like on the business side of it, or are you doing another show? Like you've won all of them. Is there anywhere else to go like in your space?
For sure. So like last year I did 4.
Yeah.
I went 4 for 4. Achieved pro status in 3 different organizations. The WNBF was like the big target. So that was my last show.
Right.
So it's the World Natural Bodybuilding Federation, the biggest kind of global natural bodybuilding. So they have their world championships. They have pro shows and stuff like that. Coming out of that prep, I was immediately like, okay, 2025. So I competed 2019, took off till 2022. So I was like, okay, the progress I made was awesome, right?
Yeah.
Went from an amateur to a pro. Now it was like, okay, what's the logical next step? Okay, pro to competitive pro, you know, go to world, see where you stack up at the world level. So I'm like, okay, 3 more years. All right, go 2025. A year has now passed, and I have zero intention of that.
Yeah?
Like none. Yeah.
How come? Why?
Man, life.
Yeah?
Life changes, right? So like, you know, I think before we probably come on air, I went through some tough times last prep. Like there was numerous occasions where I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
Which is like maybe for the first time people ever hearing that, because I think people look at me and they're just like, oh, he's fine. He can just do it. Like he always does it. What's the problem?
I have never seen you ever in a period where you've been like down. Even at like 1 week out, you're always like still
sure.
like still hyped on life, like
that's,
a vibe.
That's
like,
all mental, right? But
Yeah.
I think I've always been good at like, if shit's going on, like don't bring it to the forefront. Like I think people nowadays, they share maybe too much, right? Like they share their personal struggles online, whether it's relationship, business, family, whatever. And like, I'm not saying that's always bad, but I think there's something about putting it out there that like maybe you're just gonna leave it out there and like people are gonna hear it and like you're not working on it, you're just like spewing it.
Yeah.
So like on prep, there was through especially the last like 12 weeks, like I was like relatively in shape for the stage like 12 weeks out.
Yeah.
And with that comes a lot of like physical and mental negatives.
It's
it's hard.
taxing
like
as fuck.
it's very, very hard.
Yeah.
And there was numerous occasions where I was like, man, I don't know if I can do this. And like, bless my wife, because she's a trooper. I'll show her out any day of the week. She was like, we've come this far. You're not stopping.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. She's like, well, we've done this for 20 plus weeks now.
Yeah.
Like you're right there. Like you're going to shoot yourself for not doing it. If you don't do it, you're going to always wonder, blah, blah. And then, you know, I'd get that burst of like, yeah, you're right. It's all good. And then
Gets you through the next week.
Gets you through the next struggle, right? And then, you know, something would come up again where it's like, oh my God. Like, oh. and again, it's stuff that was a battle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, thankfully we got through it, got to the shows, and it wasn't like I was ever not doing what I had to, right? You know, like I think some people when they come with a struggle, it's like then nothing gets done.
For sure.
Like I was like having my battles, but I was like, oh, here's my food. I'll get my cardio done. I'll go work out between sets. I'll sit there and like cry to myself. Yeah. And then I'll do another set.
For
like,
sure.
You're still chipping away at it.
100%.
So with that being said, like 2025 was the goal. We're planning to start a family within the next 1 to 2 years.
Yeah.
So realistically, trying to prep with a newborn or a 1-year-old or whatever it turns out to be, probably not a good idea.
A little bit difficult,
right? And for me, like I'm a huge like traditional family guy, man. Like I think that's the coolest shit ever. Yeah. And I want to be
That's
present.
super respectable. So that's one thing, again, like similar to the like entrepreneur, like you're not winning at life unless you're doing like the grind, the entrepreneur thing. Yeah. Like the manosphere and like we've become so polarized as a society that it's either like, and it's always the extremes. To have like that traditional of what you represent in like that traditional family is like super respectable. Yeah. And it's something that I don't feel like anybody even talks about anymore. because our culture
we
has
could do a
just
whole
gone
podcast on
so.
that.
Yeah, you did, or we
No,
could.
we could.
Oh, we
100%.
could. Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. But it's like we've become so polarized, especially in those areas.
No.
And it's like, it's like, oh, women are bad or oh, men are bad, and it's like nobody is focused on building anything of real
Meaning or value.
long-term value.
100%.
And it's really cool to see like your approach to other areas in life literally is consistent across the board, which is really interesting. So.
Yeah, man. Like when we were shopping for our house, when like the whole like thing happened in 2020.
Yeah.
One of my prerequisites, like, because I was thinking long term, was like it needs a space for a gym.
Yeah.
What I have is way more obnoxious than what space for a gym was supposed to mean.
Sure.
But the opportunity presented itself, so I was going to jump on it. But for me, it was like, okay, if I need to go to the gym, say it's like a 20-minute drive.
Yep.
I'm at the gym for like hour and a half, 2 hours. That's a 20-minute drive home. Like that's a 3-hour chunk of my day.
Oh, yeah.
Either at the beginning of the day, end of the day, whatever. If I have a family,
Yep.
that's 3 hours away from them. Like that's where my head was at in 2020. And
Yeah.
now we're 2023. And now that part of our life is going to be coming to fruition in the next year or two.
Right.
So now I have this garage gym that like, hey, I'm going to dip out for like 30 minutes.
Yep.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Perfect. Investment paid off.
Yeah.
Right. So like,
Most people don't take inventory of their life like that, though. Most
There's
people just go
time, man.
like, oh, this is how I do it, and this is what I've done, so this is just the way that you do it.
Yeah.
And I am 100% in the same mindset as you. That's why we put a small gym in at the office.
100%.
Because it's like, the exact same mindset is like, I'm not going to waste, that's, in our case, 20, 30 minutes that could be dedicated during the day to our clients. Instead, I can just jump out, or any of the guys can jump out. We've created this culture here where that is a thing.
Yeah.
And it's more valuable to your life. But a lot of people don't take inventory of that
no,
stuff.
for sure.
Ever.
Right. And like, it's just as I've gotten older too, like what matters changes. Right. Like for me, bodybuilding, even when my wife and I were together, bodybuilding was like a huge focus in my life. Right. And with that, there's a lot of positives, but anything will come with pluses and minuses. You just got to weigh them out. Is it worth it or is it not?
Sure.
And now for me, like the thought of competing again, like I don't know if it's worth it. Will I ever compete again? Like I'm never going to say yes or no, but to set any timeline or even like a concrete date or a concrete goal or whatever, I don't know. Cause like my life in the last year from a business standpoint has changed, from a lifestyle standpoint has changed. Like we want to travel, we want to do all these things. And for me to be like married to like, okay, I need to like eat these certain foods at these certain times or train at this certain time, like it's just not conducive to like my goals right now. Right. And I'm still like chipping away at it. Like I still train 4 or 5 times a week regularly. Sure. Like that's always going to be there. I don't think that'll ever change, but it's just like feeling like I have to, or it's for a specific like target.
Sure.
Like I can't write that down right now.
Yeah. No, that's totally fair. How did you get into the coaching side of it? Did that just come naturally? Like people saw you winning at shows and they're like, hey, will you coach me? Or did you like deliberately go out? Yeah. Did you go deliberate? Like, this is what I want to do for the next couple years.
Well, so like we can go back a bit. So like when I was in college, there was a project we had to do. It was like create your own business. It was like a business entrepreneurship class.
Yep.
So like I've always like had that like mindset towards like money and business and stuff like that. And to a fault, right? Like I was hardcore into Gary Vee for a little while. And like, I love Gary. He's done a lot of good for me.
But Gary's sick.
Yeah. But like, it was like, like the hustle culture. Like it was like, you're going to work like 30
work
hours.
27 hours a day.
Yeah. I'm like, Gary, there's only 24 hours in a day. He's like, we'll figure it out. You can find 3. And like, that was my mindset for a while. And like, it like slowly like killed me a bit.
Sure.
So I've had to dial that back.
Yeah.
But with that class, I worked with the partner I had on the project. We did like an in-home personal training like business.
Okay.
So like I actually started to crunch the numbers on it. I'm like, okay, if we could make $50 an hour and I worked 20 hours a week, that's $1,000 a week. That's $4,000 a month. This actually might be a really good little thing.
Sure.
So I graduated college and I was like, I'm going to try to do this. So just through like word of mouth, like my first client, my mom was like talking to somebody about it at work and they're like, oh, that sounds great. So I had these adjustable dumbbells and bands. I threw them in my car and I would drive to their house and I would train them. And then 3 or 4 clients later, I had a couple here in Kingston that I would train them together. So I was making like $100 an hour.
Sick.
So like I did that for like probably like a year and I was working like still part-time at like my little like corner store job when I was like in high school. And then I started to crunch the numbers and I'm like, okay, I'm spending a lot of money on gas, blah, blah, blah. But still at like 17, 18, 19, like I'm still making a couple $100 a week. Like I'm making bank.
That goes a long way.
For sure. Yeah. And it was like a taste of like doing my own thing.
For sure.
So then that kind of got going, and then I got wind of a local small like PT studio in town, and they were looking for a trainer. And it got presented to me just through word of mouth, and I was like, you know what? I'll see what's up, right? Like I wanted to do my own thing, but maybe this is an opportunity that I'll see what happens. So I ended up getting hired on there, and I worked as a full-time PT from 2015 to 2019.
Okay.
Like I was there for like 4 years. So I did like one-on-one group classes, like small group stuff like that, like athletes, teams. Like I got like a massive, like diverse clientele that I got to work with, which was great.
Yeah.
So that took me to 2019. Phased out the in-home stuff just because logistically, like once I started getting like more clients there, I couldn't drive. I couldn't just dip to Kingston really quick. Like that's like 3 hours, right?
Right.
So, and that was great. So, you know, I was with Carrie at the time. So we'd bought a house in that time. Like we were settled in Belleville. Yeah. That's where I'm originally from. And all was good. And then 2019, things just started to like fade with me in that personal training gym. And simultaneously, Carrie and her work, like she was kind of just like, I want to do something different. Right. So she was, she's a paralegal now. She has worked at the bank before and that kind of stuff. So she was at the bank at the time, and she was like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Like I want to go, she'd worked in law before.
Yep.
Then went back to banking, and then was like, I think I want to go back into law. Like I really love law.
Right.
So I was like, why don't we just move? She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, why don't we just sell our house, quit our jobs, we'll just move. So we'd always come to Kingston to like dinner.
That seems like a diversion from like your standard thought process. Because how I know you is like the most like calculated.
Dude, I like took
very,
the bomb and I just went, right?
Yeah.
So we like hemmed and hawed about it for like probably like a month, which in the grand scheme of things is like a very quick like decision of
sure.
like you're gonna like
Just,
change your entire
everything.
life. Pretty much. So we hemmed and hawed about it, and like I said, we would come to Kingston for dinner, and every time we'd drive back home, like 40 minutes, we'd be like, man, like Kingston's nice, right? Belleville, like there's just nothing, there's nothing really going on, right? Especially if you're younger, it's just like there's not much to do. Yeah. So we'd come to Kingston, you know, go to Jack Astor's, go to the waterfront, like there's all kinds of stuff to do down here, right? So we'd drive home, man, like what if we moved there? And then a week would go by and we'd come back again and we'd be like, what do you think? Maybe we should do it. So then we went like all over the place. This might be the first time I've ever talked about this like publicly. So we like had, we were then like, maybe we'll go to Toronto, right? Big law firms in Toronto for her. I'm like, well, I could find like a gym in Toronto and probably make more money. Yeah. So like she straight up had like job interviews and everything in Toronto. Like we were like on the hunt. Like we were ready to go. We had like a dog and a cat like that we still have now. So it was like trying to finagle like a place
that would be able to
house
them.
Animals too. Yeah. So that was then we got this idea like maybe we'll go like real far. What if we go to BC?
No way.
Yeah. Huh. So we were on the phone with like man, this is so quick. It was all happening. But we were like calling like apartments and stuff in BC, like seeing if they would like take a deposit and we would drive out. Like we were gonna U-Haul all our shit out.
That's and insane. Just drive. Did you know anybody out there? Or
not
just
a
like
freaking person, man.
You're just like,
we're just like,
BC sounds
so
good.
like, my parents are amazing. I love them to death because they would never like tell me not to do something, but in the back of their mind, they're like, these kids are nuts. Like we were telling them this, and they're like, oh yeah, that'll be nice. It'll be beautiful. And in the not till after the fact that they're telling us like the actual truth. But my mom's like, I was like so scared. Like I was like I'm the only child, very close with my parents. She was close to her family. And they're like supportive, but after the fact, they're like, man, I'm so glad you didn't do this. Yeah. So after all the rigmarole of where are we going to live, we're like, okay, let's go to Kingston. Yeah. So sold our house, quit our jobs. Yep. Off to Kingston we go. So we get an apartment, and I got on with a construction company. Okay. I needed an income. Yeah. I didn't have the business. I left all my PT clients. Yeah. I was like, okay, well, I need something. She just went to like a law firm, which she's still at now, right? For her to like find a job like in the law field, like it's, especially if you're good, like they're pretty good to find good people. And she's very talented, very professional. Yep. So I think like when she had her interview, like it was a pretty streamlined process. Yeah. I was like, well, I'll figure it out, which like, That's a bold move.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
So ended up moving here. I was doing the construction gig. And in that time, one of the clients that I did PT or did in-home stuff with, she had me on Facebook. So this is like 7 years has gone by.
Okay.
And she'd saw that I moved
Yeah.
and was like, if you're still doing PT, like I'd love to like link up again.
Yeah.
Like it's weird how the world works. Still train her to this day. This is 2019 now, so we're 2023. So I still train her. So she comes to my home gym now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was doing the construction and I think I had like maybe 1 or 2 online clients. So my whole shtick with that is, okay, I think our rent at the time was like $700.
Okay.
So I was like, okay, if I charge $100 a month, I need 7 clients just to pay rent. That'd be sweet. If I didn't have a rental payment,
Sure.
then we're laughing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do that. So once I like decided upon that, then like, you know, I had like my Instagram and stuff like that. So I started like posting a bit more and, you know, word travels pretty fast. Like Kingston's still not big, like bigger than Belleville, but it's not huge.
Even then, like how much did content like influence kind of where you're at now? Like you've always been super active with like posting stuff.
100%. Yeah. From the jump, I was always like even back then, like you can find like Leroy Rollins Fitness on Facebook, like a Facebook page, and you can scroll. You can go back to like 2015. Yeah. Same with Instagram.
Yeah.
Right. And like I was, you know, every day was
that was like right
something.
before the big like fitness influencer.
For
pump.
sure.
Like the Gymshark and Alpha Lead and all that
back
stuff.
then, like the reason it's Leroy Rollins Fitness is because like one of the ways to like get found on social media was like branding or content like as your Instagram.
Right.
So it wasn't just my name.
It was like your
Fitness.
@handle. Yeah.
Yeah. And it just has stuck since then. So if I ever get out of the fitness game, it's completely irrelevant. But
you won't ever get out of the fitness game.
No. So that's where like my Instagram came from, and like even still like YouTube, like I was doing like YouTube stuff, like I've done prep videos and stuff like that, like dating back to 2015.
Yeah.
So then like once I had like that social proof of like social media had been built.
Sure.
So then once I started like actively promoting like coaching, it didn't take long for those 7 to show up.
Right.
Right. So I was like, oh, sick. All right. So I've got
covered
this.
rent. Rent's
covered
covered.
rent. Rent's covered.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Then I was like, well, shit. If I get 3 more, it's $1,000 a month.
Yep.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Right. Within a month or 2. Right. Like it's weird. Like, man, your mind is nuts, right? Like if you really believe something, you can do it.
Oh, it's crazy, man.
It's
the
crazy.
worst thing you can do is the goals you always set are actually lower. So I heard this thing. It's like what you're always usually undershoot the year 1. So if you're like, I want to hit all these goals in the first year, but so you usually never deliver on all of what that is, but your 3-year goals, you usually way overperform on.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting because in a year, it's like, you usually look at stuff and you're like, oh, I'm not quite where I want to be. But then you look 3 years out and you're like, holy fuck.
Yeah,
I'm like way further
Yeah.
than I ever thought possible.
So I got the 10 and I was still working construction. So like, I think I had it at the time, they all did like a Saturday check-in.
Okay.
So Saturday mornings was like client work online. And then, through, I don't know how the actual connection worked with Body Systems, but the owner, Dan, so I was a ambassador for them back in the day in Belleville because I was doing PT. So any clients that I had, I'd shuffle to Body Systems, go get your protein there, go get whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had like
my
a
discount code. It was like the brick and mortar like discount code. Like,
that's right. Yeah.
Affiliate.
So I had like a business relationship with them for years. I moved here and I don't remember how Dan, the owner of Body Systems, like it's a small chain, right? So like Dan, the owner, and I are like text basis, right? Like we're like it's not that big of a company.
Yep.
So I had an email from him and it was like would love to meet up. Our Kingston manager is leaving.
Okay.
I might have an opportunity for you.
Yeah.
Talk to Carrie. I'm like, you know what? I'll hear it out. Right. This whole construction thing, like it's cool, but like
What type of construction was it?
there's like general stuff. Like we do like decks.
Like GC.
side-
Oh, okay. Yeah.
There's
Got it.
general stuff. It was great. Like I grew up around that. Like my dad was a carpenter, so it wasn't like foreign to me.
Okay.
But it was like, am I going to do this forever? Like probably not. This
Yeah.
is like an intermission. Like let me figure out what's going on after this.
Sure.
So had a meeting with him and he was like, okay, like I have an opportunity for you. If you want it, like obviously I know you,
Yeah.
here you go.
Right.
So I was like, okay, here's my question for you. I'm trying to do this whole my own business shtick. Do you have issue if I do it at the store? I said, it's all online. He was like, as long as things are running smoothly, you're not like typing when people are walking in, ignoring people, then I'm all right with it. If I don't hear issue or see issue or whatever, then for sure, go for it.
Yeah.
That was then the catalyst of like where we are now, right? So I've been with Body Systems as like just store manager, right? That's like my job. But with that, the system is rigged because I can do all my work there. I can build my brand, social media, that kind of stuff there. So from that 10 clients, fast forward to now, it's north of 70.
Yeah.
All while working full time.
For sure.
And now building this business.
Yeah. And those clients, like typically like your niche, is it like in the like competitive like space only, or is it kind of like lifestyle of just maintenance and like good health?
It's changed for sure. At first it was anybody, right? Like anybody that's like, hey Leroy, I'm like, you betcha, let's go. And
check cleared. We're good.
Pretty much like kind of reflected of like what I was doing PT. Like I worked with such a variety of people, and like when I first started, it was very much that like anybody that was like, I want to build muscle, I want to lose weight, I need a program, I want to compete.
Right.
Sweet. Like I'll work with you. And over time that's adapted. And it was always weird to me because like if you look at my social media, I thought it was all just going to attract like 18 to 24-year-old dudes wanting to get jacked.
Yeah.
But that is like far from what my clientele is. Yeah.
Huh.
It's skewed a lot more like women, which I think like just more women want to like get in shape and are more open to like seeking out advice.
Yeah,
and guys are just a little bit more stubborn. Like I'll figure it out myself.
Yeah. Oh, the guy at the fucking gym said this.
His buddy said this. Right. Yeah. So it's and it was probably like a 70-30 like general to prep.
Okay.
But then obviously as my brand has grown, and I think just the competing sphere since 2019 has grown. Yeah. It's definitely not 50-50. I think it's probably a bit 60-40 now competitors. Okay. And moving forward, it seems to be continuing to do so, like especially the last like 2 or 3 months, like it's been mostly competitors.
Is like competition space, have you noticed it like changed at all? Like in terms of like the number of new entrants into wanting, like, cause it was like the thing. Like I feel like between like 2017, 2018 to before like 2020 was like the peak of like the fitness thing. And I think with everything that happened, maybe that like kind of tapered out. Have you noticed that?
There was definitely a lull. Like thankfully my business only continued to grow throughout everything that happened, which was like a blessing in disguise. Cause you would think that like at the end of the day, I'm a commodity, right? Like I'm not a necessity for like 99% of people. Luxury, yeah. So it's like, hey, if things are getting tight, like I'm probably gonna go. But thankfully, like that never happened. And I think one of the things that like paid off was the branding and like my relationship with people. Like the clients that I work with, like we get pretty tight, and they like are very trusting and looking for my support. But I was also, and like Carrie always said this, you're very cheap. Like comparatively speaking, like you're very, very affordable. And still to this day, like my prices have gone up since then. But at the time,
was that like, intentional of like,
no, man,
the desire to, you just didn't know the market?
I was like, I don't know, $100. Like, is that reasonable? Like, I don't know. People were paying it. So I was like, okay, cool. And then and at the time too, it was just like, I need proof.
Yeah.
Right. I need proof. I know what I'm talking about. Am I going to get that proof with 3 clients paying me $200 or 15 clients paying me $100?
Sure.
Right. Like 15 people are going to talk to 15 people. They're going to talk to 15.
Yep.
Right. And they're like, oh, he's only $100.
Right.
And I think that was like really helped me build that baseline of like not only clientele, but people knowing who I am.
For sure.
Now, as I've gotten more knowledge and more like, you know,
is there like an industry standard for that, or is it basically like whatever you want to say?
I think like the general is probably like $200 to $400 a month.
Okay,
I think that's probably like a general like guideline. So I'm still like, especially now, like not to toot my own horn, but the status I'm getting as a coach, I'm still like probably one of the more affordable ones.
Gotcha.
But the prices have very much changed since when I started.
For sure.
I always like grandfather.
I was going to say grandfather.
So like I have some
there's
clients.
one guy on that's still doing $100.
Yeah, I have one client. He's like, man, I'm not going to leave because I know if I come back, my price is double.
He's not. It's like the Planet Fitness thing. It's like I'm not even going to go, but it's so cheap. I'm just going to keep it rolling.
But it's like the people that like have stayed. Like there's clients that I have to this day still since 2019,
crazy,
which is cool. Like that speaks to like what we've accomplished.
And I think you also promote the like lifestyle side of it as well, like is like what's sustainable for you over time. Because I think there's a lot of people that just go like super hard into it. They're like, I want to look like absolutely shredded, they do it and they like really screw themselves up. Even if they are competing naturally, their hormones are all
100%.
whacked out.
Yeah.
So you, I think, also bring an approach of like, it's sustainable. Like you need to be able to do this for a very long time.
Yeah.
Which is a different approach than what I've seen. At least a lot of other people do.
No, for sure.
So.
Well, let's get into the pod and
boys.
yeah, we'll kind of kick it off. This is all good stuff. So, anything today that you didn't or do want to? We didn't have a chance to send out your lead deck beforehand, but is there anything off limits, on limits?
No.
Pretty much anything.
Yeah.
We can always cut anything.
Yeah, we can cut whatever.
We'll just talk, man.
Perfect. Sweet. Yeah, format for this is like pretty casual, so we're gonna do like a branded intro afterwards. So it's basically like we can pretty much roll into it. I'll introduce you, and then we'll basically just kind of flow through it.
For sure.
So,
Yeah.
that's super valuable. And now, so goals moving forward, what's like the plan? Do you think you'll ever leave like that split? Will you ever go like complete
People ask me that all the
100% on? Yeah.
I don't know. So like, someone actually asked me this the other day because I hadn't seen them at the store in a long time, and they were like, "How's business?" Blah blah. And I'm like, "Things are amazing. Like the best it's ever been. Like client wise, financially, like all metrics you're gonna measure your business success by, we're killing it."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, well, then you could leave here soon." And I'm like, "I could leave now. Like it's not like." For the
Nothing's
sake of
holding
like,
you there.
Nothing's holding me
Yeah.
there, right? Like from a financial standpoint, I was like, but think about this, right? You have a job that's like very low stress. It's like very easy. It's an opportunity to network.
I was going to say it's also in your industry. So you've
Yeah,
got
it's
people
right.
coming in all the time that
100%.
it could be your clients or, you know.
Yep. It's in my industry. And the people that I work with, like Dan, great guy, learned a lot. He's a very, very smart businessman. So there's Dan, the owner, and then there's a gentleman named Ziad, he used to work at the Belleville store.
Okay.
Right. So I've had a business relationship for him for a long time. We're very, very close. And it's a small little chain. So people in my corner that are like, they support me, right? They're people I can talk to and learn from. Plus it's a full-time income. And then on top of that, because I'm not strapped financially, as long as the store is covered staff-wise, like if I want a Friday off, take Friday off. If I want to leave early on a certain day because I have this commitment or whatever, I can leave.
Sure.
And I'm not stressed about the money, right? Which is huge. Why would I, right now anyways, that's my whole mindset, why would I let that go? Because it's just an extra, like, basically it's just an extra full-time income that I have to then,
For sure.
you know, support our lifestyle. I can invest that money. So, like, even if I stay there for the next 5 years, but I took all that money and invested it,
Yeah.
it pretty much sets me probably for, like, the next 40 years.
For sure.
Right.
100%.
So that's and on top of that, I can do all my coaching. Like very little work actually I do at my home.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
I can do it all there.
Sure.
So it just right now I don't see why I would need to.
Yeah.
Right now is only net positives.
That's interesting. Do you still get nervous when you compete?
No.
No.
No,
Never?
man. Last year, like
Really? Did you ever?
at the beginning for sure.
Yeah.
But I think like especially once I started to do well and doing well at like 21, you get this arrogance about you.
Yeah.
Like I can fully admit that. Like I thought I was like the best in the world.
Yeah. Well, you
and
end
then
up being the best in the
And
world.
then 2019, I come second.
Yeah.
And which was the best thing that ever happened to me. Right.
Yeah.
I went from so I did
It was humbling.
Yeah, I did the Coburg show in 2019, and I won the overall there. So that was my first overall title,
Yeah,
and that
okay.
felt like unreal.
Yeah.
And then a week later, I went to the States and did the first show within the WNBF,
Okay.
and I come second. And it
You thought you were
was
going to clean up?
not until I was backstage.
Okay.
Once I was backstage,
Really?
I was like, oh, shit. Actually, the guy that won the overall there, he was
Yeah.
the first natural bodybuilder I ever saw that I fully was like, holy shit.
Really?
His name was Wesley, and he was coached by my coach, who I have now.
Okay.
And he was like an inch or two shorter than me, but just this unit, man. And,
How important is the coaching aspect of it?
less than people think.
Yeah? How so?
I think genetics will always like if you have good genetics and you work reasonably hard, like you're probably gonna outclass like most people that have like
Fair.
subpar genetics
Yep.
and like work their tails off because like it's very much a genetics game.
Right.
But then you add in like Cliff Wilson is who I worked with last year, and that's who coached this Wesley guy in 2019. He is statistically probably the best natural coach out there. I think he's now got to his name over 10 world champions, over 100 and something pro cards.
Damn.
Over his coaching career. And he's been doing it now for like 15, 20 years.
Crazy.
And what's crazy is his story, he worked at like I think it was like a video studio.
Okay.
Kind of similar to I work at Body Systems.
Yep.
And back then, there was no like internet and shit. Well,
Yeah.
probably like internet, but he's not that old. But he was like, people would, like my clients would come in and I would write their diet on a sheet and be like, okay, here you go. He's like, so I've talked to him about like, when did you leave? And like that kind of stuff. Like just for me to kind of have that business mindset of like, when did you fully have that like confidence to transition? Like, okay, I'm diving in. I'm completely on my own. I'm letting this income now go away.
Sure.
It's all on me. But anyway, so back to your question. So then I had that humbling experience, which was really good.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, from 2019 to 2022, I'm going to like really like try to level this shit up.
Yeah.
So I actually tried to compete in 2020. Then everything happened, which shut it down.
Yeah.
Which was good. And then that's when I fully was like, okay, Cliff, I want to start working with you. This is what I want to do.
Gotcha.
When I was prepping, man, and for that 2022 season, like no one was beating me.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't even a thought in my mind. And that's not to say there's no one out there that could, because there's amateurs out there that would have kicked my ass.
Yeah.
Straight up. Like at the end of the day, like when you go to a show, it's who shows up and then you let the chips fall.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
But I was like, I'm at a point now where like it's going to take someone really good to beat me.
Yeah.
And it was like win. And then it was win. And then it was win. And then I went to an untested show. Untested show. And I won that. And I was like, oh, damn. Like now we're on to something, right?
Yeah.
So it was, and it wasn't nerves. Like I think I've, like, especially posing, like I drilled it so much. Like, and I felt I'm so comfortable on stage.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you naturally like pretty extroverted or?
No. So
really?
So growing up, man, I was very, very shy.
Huh.
And
so how do you not get nervous on stage?
Because I was confident.
Because you got it so dialed.
I have all the.
You've done all the prep.
I had the best support system with my family. I had arguably the best coach on the planet. I have decent genetics to do this well, and I'm going to do everything he tells me to do.
Yeah.
Like
everything in your corner that was setting you up for.
Literally, I remember like because I would journal every day. I'm like I remember writing down like you have no reason to think you're not going to accomplish what you want to do.
Yeah.
Because I had every tool in the toolbox that you could possibly need to do it. Right. And again, that's not saying like I was fully aware that someone could come in and beat me.
Yeah.
But with what I was coming in at, I was like, I don't know.
Highly unlikely.
Like the likelihood was small.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I firmly believed that. There was no doubt.
If you were to cast a bet, you were heavy, all in on you.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I would have put money on it.
Yeah.
And every time, and like, people got.
Have you ever bet on yourself?
No.
No?
No. Internally.
Yeah?
Yeah. But yeah, like, and like people were watching, they're like, oh man, like here he goes again. Right. And then it was 1 for 1, 2 for 2, 3 for 3, 4 for 4. And,
unreal.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh yeah. It was unreal.
Yeah. What are, I guess, like moving forward, like what are your goals? Like what does that look like in the business space and I guess the life space as well?
Yeah. Business one, it's like, it's tricky because I try to like really like analyze this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I think when you're growing up, it's like, I'm be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants to
millionaire by 30.
Yeah.
That was
millionaire by 30.
Lambo, house on the water, millionaire by 30.
Yeah, for sure.
It's classic.
With how hard I've had to work to like get to where I am now, like financially, like and it's not that I didn't think this was possible, but to do it in the speed that I've done it, I was like, oh shit, like this is pretty cool.
Yeah.
To do what I'm doing now and be a millionaire, like no.
Yeah.
Like that's not in the cards. And I don't want that, right? With how much I work now, to translate that into like what that would net turn into $1 million.
Sure.
Like bye relationship, bye physical health, mental health, like the whole 9 yards, right? Like that goes to shit if I'm actively going to try to turn that into $1 million.
Yeah.
For me to get the $1 million is being smart financially with investments and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah. Which I know you do a lot of.
I do a lot of that already.
Yeah.
So from
and by $1 million, are you talking like $1 million a year? Like to build that business to $1 million? Like what is that? Because a lot of people have different definitions. Like a lot of people go off like.
I think a lot of like if we just look at it basically like $1 million of income.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's the simplest way to look at
Sure.
it. For me to do that in my space.
Right.
Like I don't like you would have to be charging an absorbent amount of money
For sure.
working with like such a high number of clients that your service is dog shit.
Yeah, and yours is so attentive, like in terms of like personal attention to like building out a program. Like that's the beauty of your service is it's like totally custom to
it's very person specific. So then just try to do that for like 1,000 people.
Sure.
And I don't even think that would be enough. Like to turn that into 1 million.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like it would be stupid.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, okay, if I can just do what I'm doing now and continue to be very, 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 very good at it.
Yep.
I'm probably good.
Yeah.
Right. And then just continuing to like get people to like statuses they want.
Yep.
Right. Whether it's show wins, pro cards, whatever.
Sure.
Physiques that they want.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's that fulfillment factor, right?
Totally. Right.
A lot of people like idolize the dollar.
Yeah. So it's like getting people to those goals and then continuing to work with like high quality people.
Right.
Right. Like
cool.
let's now it's not just first time competitor, but it's like this client that could turn pro, this client that could win a title, this client that could do this.
Right.
Like if they're on my roster.
Yeah. You build that authority in the space where you now get to choose the best of the best.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
So that would be like from a business standpoint, I don't think I need much more like from a workload or client load or whatever. And like financially, like I think as I continue to go on, the prices will reflect that. And then the income will then change accordingly.
Yep.
But as far as like more, I don't know if I need much more. Like my thing too is like, as I've gotten deeper into like coaching, if I can just be like really damn good in Ontario, right? I don't need to be known worldwide. I don't need to be known in Canada, North America. If I can just be like, when someone thinks natural, not even bodybuilding, natural competitive coach or whatever in Ontario, Leroy.
Right.
There's so many people. It's such a dense populated area of people in fitness, in bodybuilding, like Toronto to Ottawa.
Yeah.
If I can be like the man, or in the, like there's 2 or 3 that come to my head that I think of. If I can be on that list, I'm probably laughing. Like I'm probably more than enough busy. And then going to shows, like going with teams, that kind of stuff is awesome. Like if I can just have like 4 or 5 shows a year that I hit up with like 12, 10 people. That branding. Like anytime I compete and I'm like really on the content game with that kind of stuff with posts and reels and YouTube, I see a hit.
Yeah.
Right. So after the
like
first show 2 weeks ago, it was like 3 or 4 client inquiries come in.
Yeah. What's the craziest client story you've ever had? Like, is there a crazy like transformation or like, I guess like the biggest win? Like what was like the craziest that you would say?
Transformation wise, I worked with a guy, his name was Chris, and he was a couple years younger than me. I still work with him now. But he come to me, this was when I was doing PT, he come to me wanting to lose weight. He was like almost 300 pounds. And then...
How tall?
My height.
Okay, that's big.
He's a big boy.
Big boy.
Very, very good like rugby football. Like he's very like you'd think farm boy.
Yep.
Like his wrists, like he's just a thick, stocky
thick
man.
boy.
Yeah. So he come to me and it was like, I need to lose some weight, man. Right? Okay, sounds good. And then as we got going, I was starting to get ready for prep for that 2019 show. And he was like, man, I think I want to do it. And by that time, I think he was probably like close to 200 pounds.
Okay.
So he's like, do you think I could? And I was like, give her a whirl. So he was like kind of like my first competitor. And by the time he had competed, he'd lost 100 pounds.
That's insane.
And got on stage. Like it was amazing, right? Like
that is nuts.
And you know, obviously through that time, like we become very, very close friends.
Yeah. What was like the lifestyle change for him in that? That must have been insane to go from
for sure. Like
just a third of your body.
Yeah, like you like took a human off him, right?
Insane.
Like for sure. Nutrition. Like he'd always worked out.
Yeah.
But I think it was like refining it, right? Like he was very strong, but it was like, okay, here's a plan I want you to follow. Here's a nutrition. Like nutrition was the big one, right? Like for him to lose weight, like a lot of that's just diet.
Yeah.
Right? Like we need a structured plan, nutrition. And he would follow it, man. Like he followed it religiously. Like his results. So I post about this all the time, right? But like results don't come by accident.
For sure.
Like it was like a year of calculated effort in the gym, in the kitchen, and 100 pounds.
Yeah.
Right? So that was cool. Competitive wise, my client Jeff, he's 2019. I think we started working together. We probably one of my best of friends. But from 2019, he competed in 2020, I think was his first season. And then we did a lap around 2021 and he turned pro. Yeah. So taking him from like never competing to a professional status is super cool. Ural, client that I've had compete just the last couple weekends. We started working together 2020. So he did his first season 2021. He is now like winning overall titles. Like that to me is super cool. And I want more of that.
Cool.
Right? Like I want like a batch of people that like my coach posted this a month or two ago and it really hit me. He's like, I want career athletes, not show athletes or season athletes, I think is what he said.
Gotcha.
And I was like, man, if I could get like people like through their career.
Yeah. It's like that marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Right. Like
it's
if we, you know, like Jeff's already, so 2019, he turned professional last year. Next year is the pro debut. Right. So to take him from 2019, never competed, to 2024, like fighting for pro wins.
That's amazing.
Like from like zero to hero,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
that to me, I think is going to be like where I want my career to go as a coach.
Yeah.
Is taking people from like maybe never competed or beginner athlete or whatever to then like.
That's unreal.
Like basically what I did as a career, I want to be that cornerstone for those people.
Cool. And guide them through that process. Yeah. What's like the process of like somebody working with you? Like, how do people find you? Like, is it typically through like social media?
Yeah,
I know you
social
mentioned
media,
that a lot.
word of mouth, man. Like I don't have a
like
website.
referrals at this point.
Yeah. Like my Instagram is the big one. Like I think I just passed like 3,800 posts. Which is obnoxious. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Which is like weird to think about. I'm like, man, you need to shut up. But yeah, Instagram's a big one, right?
Yeah.
Like people see the coaching content on there and like undoubtedly the messages will come through like, hey man, I've been following you for 6 months. Hey man, I've been following you for a year. And that's where I think people get lost is like not getting that. Like I posted today, where's all the inquiries? I'm like, man, like you might not, dude, I get people that are like, yo, I watched your YouTube series when you prepped last year and then followed you on Instagram. And then they're like, you know, I want to work with you.
Right.
So it's
building that like brand recognition and like,
for sure.
And everybody's in a different cycle. And like, even with our business, we have clients that may see something and jump on right away, or like we'll advise clients, like if you're in real estate, for example, your client might see an ad, but they're not going to sell their house tomorrow just because your ad, but they're going to keep you in mind.
Him and haw about it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that obviously like the social media, the branding kind of thing, or it's, hey, who do you work with? It's Leroy. Or like, hey, if you need this, go see Leroy, right? Like, or it's people see Team Rollins hoodies at the gym and they're like, what's that all about? And then my client's like, go see Leroy.
Right. Yeah, that's sick. And then you've also got the podcast, which
so it never ends. So
got a lot going on.
I started this. So on social media, there's a lot of coverage for like the untested side of the sport.
Yep.
But the natural bodybuilding scene, there's like not much people talking about it.
Right.
So I was like, I'm just gonna start an Instagram page and I'm just gonna share athletes. I'm gonna share show footage, content, whatever. And I'm purely just doing it for fun.
Yeah.
So Natty News Daily is what it's called on Instagram, and we're up to 15,000 followers now.
Sick.
So I started it just for funsies, and then I've had like 2 or 3 different like iterations of like podcasts that I've done.
Yeah.
Then I was like 2 guys that I had on, James and Dan, on like my original podcast that was just like me wanting to talk with people. Content basically is what it was, right? It's just what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
And me and them hit it off like really, really good. And we became like very close friends. And I'd never met them till last year, but we had communicated almost daily for probably 2 years at that point.
Yeah.
So then I was like, hey, like I want to do this thing. Why don't we just do a podcast? We'll have guests on.
Cool.
And we'll post it on YouTube and stuff like that. And again, it's purely a passion project. We have turned it into like a business.
Yep.
Not making us anything, but it's an opportunity. Like we got to do commentary last year at the Mr. America. They invite us down, which is in New Jersey.
Sweet.
So we were like at a booth, like watching the show, and it was live streamed, and you know got good feedback from that. So like that kind of stuff. If
Have
the
you
opportunities
had
come up,
Michael
we'll do it.
Hearn on? Best
No, but we met
natural
him there.
bodybuilder in the world.
You know what? We asked him to do a pose down on stage. He turned me down.
Really?
Yeah, I was like, jerseys off, let's go. He wouldn't do it.
No way. Actually, crazy.
Yeah.
What's the dream guest? What's the dream guest list? Your top 5 that or who do you have on? Who do you have?
A lot
coming
of it's
up?
just like competitors that like are in my position, right? Like whether they're like up and comers or new. Like we just like to talk to people about it.
If you could have anybody on from like past, present, or future, who would it be?
Shit.
Only
Probably
one.
cool to talk to Arnold.
Okay, yeah, of course.
Might not understand anything. But it'd probably be cool to talk to Arnold. You know what, man? Selfishly, I would love to have a conversation with John Cena.
Oh yeah,
That was my like when I grew up, like when John Cena was the man.
Yeah,
and like he was jacked.
Yep.
So like he's like my childhood idol for real. Like just to like have that conversation or even just get a photo with him would be like.
Have you ever met him?
Never.
Never
had an opportunity to.
Crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. In the I mean, don't know if it's like selfish to say, but there's no people that I like idolize in the space. Like for me, my coach Cliff was like the man.
Yeah.
And then to then get like with a one-on-one working relationship with him was like that kind of like checked off my like bucket list of like things. And we've had him on the podcast and stuff like that. I've never met him. I think that would be like just to actually like meet him and have a conversation with him in person.
Yep.
Would be pretty cool. And that like the only other thing is when like for me now competitively, it's like sharing the stage with people. So like James and Dan that I do the podcast with, like one day it'd be pretty cool to have like that photo of the three of us on stage.
Oh yeah.
Or
Have you guys ever like you guys have met each other?
We've met
before?
now, yeah. So when
Did you start it before you guys met? Like you were just
never
like
met.
No way. Are
No.
they based in Canada or they're
No,
elsewhere?
they're American.
Oh, they're American.
Yeah.
Oh, okay,
So
okay.
Dan's in Pittsburgh, James is in like upstate New York.
Gotcha.
So
Did they know each other before?
No,
They didn't.
like casually through online stuff. But then like, so that was the thing is we had done these podcasts every week for like 2.5-3 years.
Okay.
Like video call. So you know the person. I've heard your voice. I know your tone.
Yeah.
I know like when you're casual, when you're kind of being like an idiot, right? So like we had that relationship and I'll never forget this. I still have the video saved on my phone. When I think it was my second show I did in Syracuse last year. They were coming. So it was like the first time we're going to meet.
Yeah.
And I was sitting in that, so they have like this big backstage room.
Okay.
And that's where all the athletes are sitting. And, and
it's like a green room kind of thing.
Yeah. So like the promoter's in there. He's like, okay, this is the rundown of the show. This is when we're going to start, blah, blah, blah. And I see over there these two heads over a crowd of people. And like, it was the first time we'd ever met.
No way.
And it was like a surreal moment. Like it was really cool. Cause I've talked to these guys.
Yeah.
Like on like a very like close level. Never met them before.
Yeah.
Till that moment. And now like,
and did you already have the podcast going at that time or you guys hadn't started?
Yeah.
You guys had it. So you'd done like episodes and everything.
We were like 100 and something episodes. Like every week we'd talk and we, group chat on Instagram. Like we'd talk like daily. Never met.
That's
until
insane.
Like that kind of, So like I think if there's one thing I'll say, bodybuilding has really brought cool people to my life. Yeah. Right. Like outside of like my competitive career and stuff like that. Like I've met people who have become like they're like brothers to me. Like like when Carrie and I got married, it was during like the weird times when people couldn't travel, but like I'd never met them. I would have invited them to my wedding.
Insane.
That's how tight we were.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Damn. How important is like networking in the space?
It's everything.
Yeah.
I think it's in every space ever, right? Like if you don't meet people, like it's kind of just like this empty thing. Yeah. Right. Like whether it's clients I've met or like, now I get like invited to shows and work with people that like I never would have otherwise met. And it's turned into opportunities that basically have like bodybuilding's built my life, right?
Is
like
the community pretty small? Like, is it like once you're in it is like, you kind of like know, not everybody, but like, we got time. We need a hot break. Okay. Oh, they are? Amazing. All right, cool.
This one's the only one still going.
We've been rolling for a while here.
We're at an hour 5.
Okay.
But maybe I can't find another one.
Yeah. No worries.
On your laptop, so give me like 5 minutes. And we can
Do a
close it out
quick
properly.
dump? Yeah, okay, perfect.
And
Sweet.
hopefully we'll have enough time.
Amazing. Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
Dude, we could do these like 30 hours if we wanted to.
Like no break, which is like insane.
Leroy's just a great talker, man.
I can talk, man. Especially get asked me good
I thought
questions.
you were introverted, dude.
I didn't even get to talk about like so.
No worries.
So
You
like
guys still talk? That one's on.
Oh, okay, cool.
so like you asked me about being introverted. So when I grew up, I was very shy, very quiet.
Okay.
So you see that scar?
I do.
So I had a birthmark, mole, whatever it was, on my neck, and it was
Yeah.
a good size.
Yeah.
And like, dude, like you want to talk about being shy? Like this was me all the time.
Really?
And like,
Did it affect your
mocked.
posing later from always going like this?
Well,
Did you have an imbalance?
No.
Ah.
So, but I was mocked for it. Like I was
Really?
very much made fun of, man.
Crazy.
For it. And I think it fueled me being like just very shy, right? I was never like socially, like I always had friends and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but like class presentations, that kind of stuff. Like I just
Not
no
doing
way.
it. Yeah,
no, like
yeah.
something like this, like
Yeah.
like no, like I would no
No
way.
way.
So then one summer it started. So they always told my mom like if it ever changes,
Yeah.
because it could be like cancer,
Yeah.
get it like looked at. So one summer, I remember I was swimming a lot, and the chlorine. I don't know if the chlorine was a factor of it or whatever, but it started to like get like a white kind of tinge to it, which is probably not good.
Yeah.
So went to the dermatologist and they're like, yo, we can like get rid of it if you want. And I'm like, seriously? Like you
Is
can
that
just like
easy?
yeah, you can just
like
get
you
rid of
just
it.
cut it off.
And they were like, yeah. So like they like froze it and like
Yeah.
I was fully awake and they took like straight up like scissors. Like you know how like you can feel the sensation of paper?
Yeah.
Like that's what my skin felt like.
No
and I was just sitting
way.
there, I'm trying to like watch. And they like cut it out and they stitched it up.
Oh.
But like as weird as that's gonna sound, I think that like changed the trajectory of my life.
Yeah.
As far as confidence goes.
Interesting.
Because it was like, it was such a hung up for me, man.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I was mocked, like it was just made fun of for it.
Yeah.
Like there was a few people that were like fucking deadly about it.
That's brutal, man.
And, like-
kids are savage.
And it was even in high school though. Like it was like a lot
Yeah.
of my young life was
Yeah.
like mocked for this.
Crazy.
And like I didn't like talk about it to my parents and stuff, but I always say like I hate this or whatever. My mom's like, look, like don't
Yeah.
worry about it, blah blah.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
people are
It
just
makes you
jerks.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, shit like that, right?
yeah, yeah.
But it bugged me.
Yeah.
So then when I was able to get it removed and like it would
A game changer.
literally like as
Yeah.
weird as that may sound, like game changer, like confidence just to like be in front of people, like from
Yeah.
an appearance standpoint, confidence, like
That's interesting.
yeah.
Huh. Crazy.
Yeah. Like it literally like for me to then like turn into like what I am now
Yeah.
as like
Because usually it's like a long process. Like I'm naturally incredibly introverted, and it's taken me like years to get to a point where like
Yeah.
I'm comfortable doing things that most people are like, that's normal. Like
Yeah.
I do that all the time.
Yeah.
For me, that was
it's
not
it's
normal.
definitely situation dependent too.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm not the one that's like gonna go into like a crowd of people that I'm not.
Do you do better? Oh, I was gonna ask. Do you do better in a crowd or like 1-to-1 or like more intimate?
This kind of stuff I'm good with.
Yeah.
In a space I'm confident in, like bodybuilding, right?
Sure, yeah.
Going on stage, or like if I was to like give a presentation, or if I was just in front of a bunch of people that wanted to like chat,
Yep.
I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
But like the bar scene, like that, like if it's just that kind of stuff, like zero
Yeah,
enjoyment
yeah.
to do that at all.
Would you ever coach coaches? Like, would you
I've
ever
been
get into
asked
that?
to do like mentorship and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like I definitely would.
Yeah.
It's just like, people have asked me like, would you take on like another coach onto you? And like outside of my wife, like, as weird as this may sound, let's keep the money in the house.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. Like
yeah.
I don't want to, and especially because it's my name. Right. So like if I bring a coach on and they're like not doing a good job, that reflects on me. But also like you come to me for coaching and I'm like, awesome, you're going to work with Lucas.
Yeah.
They're like, well, no, I'm coming to you.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That kind of
Yeah.
dynamic. But as far as like, people have said like, can I like have a call with you to like pick your brain about business and coaching and that kind of stuff? Like 1,000%.
Right.
But as far as like for me as like a coaching business, like I'd very much just
Yeah.
keep it like a soul
Yeah.
thing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Huh. Crazy. And you and Carrie got married
Yeah.
2 years
man.
ago.
It'll be 2 years
2
this
years?
August.
Yeah. I shot your wedding.
You did.
Yeah. It was a nice wedding.
A nice video.
Well, thanks. But and she used to do shows. How did that work? Was
So
you
she
guys
did-
both doing prep?
She did. Yeah.
Do you guys prep together?
Yeah.
You did?
So she did.
Okay.
So she had no prior experience with bodybuilding. She grew up a competitive gymnast.
Yeah.
So she was always active.
Oh,
Always
that's
like
cool.
somewhat fit and worked out and stuff like
Yeah.
that, but never to the extent of like what
Going
I
to the,
would do for
the
a show.
top level. Yeah, yeah.
So like we funny enough, there was a period of time where we might not have been together now. When we got together 2016.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
So I had competed that summer. I think it was
Okay.
August.
Yep.
And then we started like communicating and like dating like not long after that. So like
Yeah.
she never saw prep Leroy. It was just like normal
Prep
Leroy.
Leroy is a little bit different.
They're different. They're
Oh,
different
yeah.
folks, right?
Okay.
So we were together for like a couple months, and then I started prep. I think in the January of 17
Okay.
for nationals, which is in May.
Yep.
So she's like, "Oh, cool! Like he's gonna compete. Like this will be great." Then all of a sudden, it's like, "Oh, he's like not eating with us anymore, or he's like bringing like food to like family outings, or like he's going to the movies and like we can't eat popcorn or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
right?" So like, and like you're just like mood changes a little bit, and like you're tired, you're hungry, you don't want to do this, you want to do that, can't do this. Yeah, I gotta go cook that. Like,
Right.
all the hurdles that come with prepping, and she didn't tell me that at the time, but like till much later, she's like, I didn't think I was gonna be able to do it.
Yeah.
Like she's like,
She was
this is
ready to bail.
yeah,
It's like, I'm
like
out.
4, 5, 6 months in, and
Yeah.
she's like, I don't know if this is like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, he's not the same person that he was 3 months ago. Thankfully,
Yeah.
she stuck it out.
Yeah. And then she did a prep and was probably like, I get it now.
Well, so that was the thing. And kudos to her for doing that. And I think this is where like people in the competitive sphere, like if their partner doesn't get it, it's very easy to be like, you know what, I'm out.
Yeah.
Right. This isn't for me.
Yeah.
So she got through that prep. And then afterwards, 2018, like normal life, right?
Yeah.
So by that time, we're like a year, 2 years in. And then 2019 come around. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this show. And she's like, I think I want to do it too.
Yeah.
And a lot of her driving factor was like, I want to know what you went through. Like, I want to get an understanding
cool.
of that. Yeah, very like respectable for her to like want to take that on. And like, obviously she wants to give it a go herself and see what's up.
For sure.
But like, she was also like, I want to see like why you felt the way you did or act the way you did or whatever, right? Like how intense. Yeah, you can tell somebody like what it feels like and this and that, but until you go through it,
it is one of those things I think you have to go through. Because there is value in being like, oh, somebody told me this and I learned that. Like, but there is like the like phases of what you go through. Is
for
like,
sure, right? And like you don't
'cause
know, like, you know, Lucas, I'm tired today.
Yeah,
You're like, okay, whatever. Like, or like, man, I'm hungry. Like,
it's a different kind of tired, a different kind of hungry.
Right? And it just like from start of prep to finish, like the locked in feeling that you have, where it's like blinders, right?
Yeah.
So she'd worked with the same coach I'd been working with, Sean.
Okay.
Through that prep, and like it come with its challenges, right?
Yeah.
Like you're in the kitchen and you're testy and you're like trying to make your food, she's trying to make her food, and then like she's got to go do cardio, or like I got a cheat meal and she didn't.
Yeah,
so then it's like you're an asshole.
Just smashing ice cream and she's
much,
eating like broccoli and chicken.
Yeah. But like she stuck it out, and she'd said she's like, I'd never stuck to like a diet before, like 2 weeks, and then it's like, screw this, right? She committed to that, and like, not that she was perfect, but she 99% of it she stuck to, and like, she didn't get the end result as far as like, I think physique wise or like whatever, right? And like her body started to fight us at the end, which has now translated in some of the health stuff that she's experienced now, which I think, I don't think you can say it's a result of prep, but I think prep kind of like brought things to the forefront that might have been underlying.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now, like, she's been on this like kind of health journey since then.
What's your perspective on like competing? Like, do you recommend, like, if somebody comes to you and they're like, I just want coaching, and you're like, if someone's considering competing, should everybody compete, or should people be like, most shouldn't? No,
why? It's not healthy. Like, for one, it's not healthy. Like, once you get to those like the point where you need to get to stage, like it's not good for you, right? And like, but I think the biggest problem,
you look sick.
Yeah, those photos, right?
You look healthy. Is it like, it's like the illusion of health?
For sure. Yeah, for sure. I think the biggest problem though, and this is the social media world we live in, and the world we live in now, is that this like the body image issues that come from it. Right? Like, I don't care who you are, whether you're male, female, whatever, has competed. Yep. You're going to have problems with how you look after. Right? You get into this, like, what you think is like peak physical condition. Yeah. But
it's like that dysmorphia kind of aspect of it.
What you need to do to get there isn't sustainable. It's not healthy. And then when you transition out of it, it's undoubtedly more harder for girls than guys, right? Yeah. Like, I can gain like 15 pounds and still kind of have abs. Sure. Right. And not look like a fat slob. Yep. But for the female athletes to get into this condition and then to start to gain a healthy level of body fat back, right? It's not that they're getting fat, but just getting back to like a normal healthy range is hard to like see. Yeah. And even more so, it's exacerbated by continuous comments of like, you look so good. Yeah. Oh my God, look at your abs. Oh my God, you look amazing, girl. You're killing it, blah, blah, blah. And then like that goes away. And you
post like a 3 month out, and then there's like 30% less likes on it.
Dude, I straight up like tried it one day, and I was like, I posted a photo, like I post photos on prep, and like people are following it. They're invested, like, things are getting like 1,000 likes, which for me is like good numbers. Yeah. Oh yeah. And then like normal circumstances, like maybe 100. Sure. So then I was like, watch this. And I posted like one of those epic photos that we took in my garage, and it was like 700-800 likes and like 30 comments. Man, this is unreal, blah, blah. But it's that dopamine 100%. that feeds that problem, right? So you get this massive influx of positive attention attention
Yeah.
for a period of time.
Yeah.
12, 13, 14, 20 weeks.
Yep.
And you get accustomed to that, right? And then you start to
That's your new baseline.
well, and then you
Yeah.
seek it, right? Then it's like, oh, I don't feel so good today.
Yeah.
Ab shot. Comments
Yeah.
and likes and all this kind of stuff. Oh, I feel better now. Then eventually
Yeah.
that's got to go.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's where people can really fall in a pit. And like, I think every coach will have those clients that like after a show, it's a pretty nasty spot to be in. Right. And you know, as a coach, you're
how do you navigate a client like through that? Like what is like the
It's
proper,
tough, man.
It's almost like like in the enhanced side of things, it's almost like you need to do like a post-show therapy. Like it's like
for real. So like
like
one of the things now is like, I try to like bring that to attention pretty early, right? Like, you know, this is something you're probably going to
so
go
you're like
through.
prepping them for post prep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're like starting to get in good shape, and it's like, okay, remember, like this is for a short-term thing. Like you're going to start now getting to a point where we can't maintain that forever.
Right.
And then, you know, they'll check in. Oh my God, I'm so happy with how I look and new low weigh-in and all this kind of stuff. And they feel great. And positive reinforcement, like for sure, we're getting to where we need to go. But remember,
Right.
we're not going to be able to stay here. And after the show, it's hard, man, because people just want to like go off the rails and eat everything and all that kind of stuff. And your body is in such a sensitive state that like it's nothing to put on. Like if you have 2 or 3 days of like, I'm just going to eat whatever, like 15 pounds can jump on
It was
real
insane.
quick.
I remember, so I competed at 159. No, sorry, I was 157 for provincials. And 2 days later was 186.
100%.
It was unreal.
Dude,
like
when
the
I
body
went to,
just like,
yeah,
it's
when
crazy.
I went to Spain for that like IFBB show.
Yeah.
So we did like we used it as an opportunity to do like a little Europe trip.
Okay.
So we did Spain, then we did Rome, and then we did Paris.
Oh,
so we were
sick.
2 weeks.
Okay.
So post show,
Yeah.
travel, can't really work out or anything, so you can't really get like that like water weight flowing off.
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Dude, I was like uncomfortably swollen from just water
Just
retention.
inflamed.
Yeah, man. Like you could like full on like
it was like
indent.
rubber skin. Yeah, I remember that feeling. And it was like my abs went to like, it felt like rubber.
Yeah.
Like it was so thick.
Yeah. So it's tricky, man. Like I don't I don't want to say there's like a perfect formula because it's going to be very person dependent, right?
Yeah.
Like especially for a first time competitor, like you can almost guarantee that like after the show, it's going to be a bit of like, this is going to be rough for a minute, right?
Yeah,
It's tough. It's very tough.
Yeah. How important is like health overall for people? Obviously people go, it's like, it's good to be in shape but how do you balance that with work and life? What are your like top tips to be able to like, because there's a lot of like really fat business owners out there, like people that are like, and they use the excuse of I'm really busy, so I'm not focusing on my health. And then they get to 60 and they've got a million problems and they can't even enjoy the life that they've worked so hard to build. Yeah. Was like your advice to like people like that? Like, how do you simplify that to build something that's sustainable?
This is who I am, so this is what I do.
There you go. Yeah. Cody's.
Yeah. Shout out.
Sick.
I think it's just like having like an understanding that like your health is like very important, right? And like you don't need to do, like people have this illusion that like they need to do, 6 days a week in the gym, and I need to cold shower in the morning and sauna in the evening, and if I don't get 8 hours of sleep and all blah, blah, like that there's this massive to-do list to be healthy. And like, to be honest, it's not that long. And like me and you could go to the mall right now and we could go up to 100 people and say like, hey, what does a healthy lifestyle look like? No one's going to give us answers that were unexpected.
Yep.
And no one's going to not be able to answer.
Sure.
Everybody knows what they have to do. And
It's
I
just
think
the execution component that's missing.
and that's like the craziest thing about like people is like most people aren't stupid.
Yeah.
Everybody knows what they need to do.
Most people are obsessed about the process though.
People know what they do to be healthy. Most people know how to like make a decent wage.
Yeah.
Most people like, we could go on.
Yeah.
Right. Very few people don't know what they need to do to achieve X thing.
Right.
And if they don't know,
Oh, thanks, bro.
if they don't know,
Yeah.
it's not hard to figure out.
Yeah.
So it's like, why don't you do these things? Right. So like if people just like ate healthy.
Yep.
Right. Like healthy, like don't track your calories. Don't worry about your macros. Let's just make the bulk of your nutrition
Yeah.
day to day healthy food.
Yep.
Drink water.
Yeah.
Probably not a bad idea. Right.
How much water? What do you recommend,
I don't
Leroy?
know. For probably most people, like 2 to 3 liters.
It's
Like,
not even that much.
it's not.
People are like,
What's
this is probably half
500
of-
mil. You
yeah.
can't drink 4 of these.
Yeah. Yeah.
In like how many hours a day are you awake?
Oh, I don't know.
Like
Depends.
16
yeah.
hours?
Well, yeah. If you're a real big sleeper, let's say 16.
16.
14
You can't drink
even.
one of those every
Yeah.
like 4 hours.
Yeah.
Come on.
I don't know how people don't drink water. Like I
don't know how people
obsessed
don't like
about
water.
water. Within the first 5 minutes of this, I was already done that
Dude, a
one.
friend of mine's wife's like, I don't like
amazing.
the taste of water.
Yeah.
What are you talking about? And then like training, man, like it's not as
It's not as crazy as people
as
make
it needs
it.
to be. Like if you
Yeah.
did like 30 minutes
Yeah.
3 times a week and ate healthy,
Yeah.
most of your like health problems are
Yeah.
gonna be like probably sorted. Right? Like it's not
Yeah.
complicated, right? Then like obviously then people will like see what I do and they're like, well that's an extreme
That-
and
yeah.
that takes way more. But like the
Sure.
general person that's like, what do I need to do? It's like, like my mom, for example, she's retired now.
Okay.
And she's forever, she's the classic, like, I need to lose this, I need to lose that. I'm like, Mom, like,
Yeah.
just do these like 3 things on a regular basis. And undoubtedly, like a couple months would go by and I'd go there for dinner and she'd be
Yeah.
like, well, I'm trying. You know what to do. But now she got a dog. She's retired. She got a dog.
Yeah.
She walks this dog like probably like an hour a day.
Okay.
She goes to the gym like 2 or 3 times a week. She goes to the old gym I used to work at, does these group classes. I think they're 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Like 3 times a week with like,
Okay.
a couple other women in the
Perfect.
same boat as her. And she's just trying to not eat like an idiot. And she's like, I feel a million times better. I'm like, I've been
Yeah.
telling you that for like 7 years, Mom.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Cut
really
this
not
and
that
send it
hard.
to my mom.
Yeah. There you go.
But it's not that complicated. It
Yeah.
really isn't, right? And like you can get, and it's so easy to get down the rabbit hole of all these little minute.
Well, that's the thing. I
things.
think so many people like start and they look at something and they go like they see what could be like the end goal, and then they just obsess about like all the details rather than just being like, okay, just do something. Like just do like that one thing that gets you closer, and then you can compound and build off of that. But like just doing the one thing is like the
pick
most
something,
important thing. Pick
right?
something.
Like,
Pick
well,
anything.
Keto, paleo,
Sure. Yeah,
vegetarian, vegan, blah blah. I'm like, okay, throw all that aside.
Yeah.
I want you to write down like what's healthy eating to you. Protein, yep. Fruits and vegetables, you got it. Drink more water.
Yeah.
Very good. Do that, right?
There's
Like,
your plan.
for real though. And it's like, well, how much of this? No.
$400 a month.
Yeah. Well, how much of
Sold.
this? How much of the? Like, no, you don't need that. Just do
Yeah.
that, and like you'll probably start to get somewhere. And
Yeah.
then you lose them. Right?
Yeah.
A week goes by.
Yeah.
Carrots. No. Give me
Yeah.
chips.
Yeah.
Right? And then no.
You just fall back into the patterns. Yeah. What do you do for energy?
What do I do for energy?
Yeah. You a monster guy? You like what's your thing?
This will blow people's minds.
Yeah.
Don't drink coffee.
Okay.
I don't like
You
it.
don't drink coffee.
I don't drink coffee. Don't
Really?
like it. Never been drunk.
Never.
Never. Not even my wedding day, man.
Damn.
Not even my
yeah,
honeymoon.
you weren't. No, you weren't.
I was not. I'll drop
Insane.
some drinks.
Yeah.
But like I've never been drunk.
It's amazing.
No energy drinks, none of that kind of stuff. I don't like the carbonation.
Oh, okay.
I don't like the bubbles.
Really? You don't like the fizz?
Don't like the fizz.
Oh,
so
man.
like pop, energy drinks, that
Some
kind of
sparkling
stuff.
water is like a
Dude,
no
get it out.
Just
No,
tap
like
water
this,
is good for
This
you.
is
Yeah.
my livelihood. So like I none of that.
Yeah.
I think it's just like not like
Interesting.
yeah.
Huh. What about pre's? You're a big pre-workout
I
guy.
do.
Yeah.
What's
Well,
up?
there you go.
To a fault, right? That's my cap. That's my caffeine
3
hit.
scoops? What is
No,
it,
no,
3
no.
scoops?
I just like I definitely am at a point now where it's like it's
Yeah.
habit.
Yeah, yeah.
And it tastes good, so I do it. Like very few times do I like take my pre-workout and like it hits me, and I'm like
Yeah,
once
yeah.
in a while it will, and I'm like, oh, that's what that feels like.
Yeah.
But now it's just like, well, I just get up. This tastes like cherries, man. Good.
Yeah. You mentioned intermittent, like you're lifting now fasted.
No.
I have been noticing, I've been trying like different things, but I have been trying actually these. Dylan got me into actually.
Yeah.
It's like nootropics.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
It's got vitamin C and everything.
yeah, so I've been like trying different stuff in the mornings, and I notice everything hits me like way different when you're like totally fasted and if you've worked out.
Yeah.
What's the science behind that, Leroy?
I mean, if you have nothing in your system, like say like food, right?
yeah.
If you have nothing in your system, then it's gonna get absorbed that much better, right? So like like pre-workout, right? Like
Yeah.
if it's got like caffeine and stuff, it's gonna get absorbed that much quicker. So it's gonna hit you, and arguably it's not competing with anything else to get absorbed or digested.
Gotcha.
So it should hit you a bit more.
Should be better.
Yeah.
So workout fasted?
I mean, I very much enjoy it.
Yeah.
Right. And then like then I'll eat after. So if someone's like, it's like the whole intermittent fasting thing, right? The science seems to say it's not magic. You're just eating less overall. So if you're trying to eat like 3 meals in 6 hours, you're going to be more full, which probably you're going to eat less.
Fair.
Right? Versus eating like 3
logical.
or 4 meals over like a 16-hour period, right? So like for me, when I get up, outside of the little during workout drink, like I'll get up at 6, but I'm not actually consuming any food till like 10:30.
Right.
After my training's done.
Yeah.
But as far as like training without any food in my system, like I feel better.
Yeah.
Because my digestive system's not trying to digest and using blood to digest versus then trying to shuttle blood to the muscle to do the gym stuff.
Right.
Right. There's one system at play right now, and that's my muscular system when I'm training.
Right.
So I just have like a ton of water because you want to make sure you're hydrated. So I'll do a ton of water. Like I'll crush like probably a liter.
Okay.
When I first get up.
So
right?
hydrate.
So that's 1 out of my 2 liters a day that I need to drink.
You're already there. It's only
and
6.
then I'll have pre.
Yeah.
I usually put some salt in it. Just
Okay.
For some
Why?
electrolytes.
Oh, for electrolytes?
Yeah. So you don't cramp up. Because I haven't like consumed.
Have you ever
anything.
watched Idiocracy? Do you know what that is?
No.
Oh, okay. Anyways, it's electrolytes is a big. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
One of those buzzwords right now.
Yeah,
right?
no, it's like they have these Gatorades, and it's like way like 20. I think it's like 200 years in the future or something, and they're all the plants are dead, and they've been like trying to feed it Gatorade, like they've been watering plants with Gatorade because they're like, it's electrolytes. It's like, it's what plants crave. And the more I look around our world, I'm like, hey, we're actually living kind of in that reality.
It's pretty much, yeah. But yeah, so I do pre-workout, and then during the workout, I'll do like some EAAs. So like, you probably something to be said about having like some, for like protein breakdown and stuff like that when you're training to have those amino acids available.
Okay. What's the difference between EAAs and BCAAs? What's better? Is
So
BCAAs just doesn't really do anything? Is that a thing?
It's weird that they've come out before EAAs. So like
Yeah.
EAAs are like all 9 essential amino acids.
Okay.
So EAA is essential amino acid.
Yep.
Branch chain is just like the main like 3, I think.
Okay.
3 or 4.
Are they effective?
I would always opt. Probably like I don't want to say they're ineffective.
Yeah.
Like there's probably some benefit.
I heard it's just really cheap to manufacture them. So
Probably.
every supplement company uses that as like their high margin item.
Probably.
And like they just nail down flavors because it's like it's flavor.
It tastes like blue raspberry. That's
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
No, I mean EAA from like a formula standpoint to me makes more sense.
Gotcha.
Just because you're getting all of the essential stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then that with like a little bit of like quick carbs with the Gatorade powder during my workout and
Sweet.
all today.
You're ready to rock.
Yeah.
Dope. Amazing. Anything else you want to chat about?
No, we should probably stop.
I think we're pretty good.
Not for this episode, anyways.
How long were we doing?
Hour and a half.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a long one.
Solid.
That was a solid
I
one.
have 8 clips in the first hour I want to use.
Amazing. Perfect.
Cool, cool.
That's great.
Where can people find you?
Oh, yeah. You got to give your plugs.
Do that.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. So that wraps it up. Where can people find Leroy and how do they get in contact with you?
Instagram's the main one. It's Leroy_Rollins_fitness. That's where most of my content and branding will be. Like I mentioned, we're like north of 3,000 posts or some shit like that. So I do spend some time there.
Amazing. They're about to get blasted after the podcast too. We'll send you a bunch of clips.
Perfect.
So.
In my Instagram bio is a link for coaching. So it's just an application form, Google Doc. Takes like 5 minutes to fill it out. So if anybody wants to inquire for coaching, that's usually where they go. I do have YouTube. So it's just Leroy Rollins on YouTube. So I have prep documented on there. That's where podcasts will go and that kind of stuff. Try to at least keep some sort of long form content on there somewhat regularly. That's pretty much it. No website or anything like that. Facebook page, Leroy Rollins Fitness.
Why don't you have a website? I had to ask a question. Why don't you?
ROI never made sense.
Really? Interesting.
Instagram did it all for me.
Okay. Huh.
I don't know what else I would put on a website.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah. And everyone's
to
on their mobile
make it
too.
good and stuff like that.
And
like,
you have your onboarding doc or your application
Yeah,
doc
like
right
it
on your bio.
Yeah, if people want to see like client results, Instagram. If they want to see my shit, Instagram.
Yeah.
If they want to apply for coaching, Instagram.
Yeah.
Like Instagram kind of like
Yeah.
did everything I needed.
Yeah.
So to then like what was I going to put on a website?
Right.
Right. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just didn't. I never saw the use
Interesting.
for it. And people all like I've had numerous people over like my business career be like, man, you should probably do a website. And I'd ask why, and they would never give me good enough answer. So I'm like, well, until you can give me a concrete.
Because you need it. It's because it's the thing that you need to do.
Yeah, I was like, well, you need it. I'm like, what do I need it for? Like,
Yeah.
if you type my name on Google, like my Instagram pops right up. There's my website.
So a buddy of mine posted the other day, actually, a thing exactly on that. He asked just an open question, like on his Instagram, and he was like, "Do you need a website before you start a product or launch a product, or you don't need a website? Focus on the product." And it was super interesting because the responses on that question, there was like multi-7-figure business owners in both categories. They were like, "You absolutely don't need a website," or "You absolutely do need a website." So it really, like, there's a million ways to get to a destination. So it's
probably very like niche dependent, right?
Yeah.
Like my coach had a website, and like I think on there was some but he's like old school. Like he posts on Instagram like once every like 2 weeks.
Gotcha.
Right. So like to get a hold of him, like, you know, you're probably going to want to go to his website because like 10 years ago, you went to, you know, teamwilson.com and that's where you applied for coaching.
Sure.
Now, like, I don't know many people in my industry that like use a website for really anything substantial. Yeah. Right. Like your Instagram and social is going to probably do more for you.
For sure. Well, make sure to check out Leroy on all of the channels that he has. And thanks so much for coming in, man. I really appreciate you. Yeah. Amazing.